Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all here from Thornton Farm. It's just before 6 a.m., and our day is going to get started here pretty quick. Now, one thing that I did not tell you all about when we were setting up the map and sort of going over some of the finer details as far as how we were going to do things on the farm and everything, I may have failed to mention that I struggle with shutting gates, but I also failed to mention our milk delivery process that we have worked out with the local farmers and everything with the milk cooperative here in the Cotswolds region. So let's go ahead and get our milk truck fired up here so we can turn on the pump, and we're going to go ahead and start loading up from our dairy here. Every other day we need to deliver milk from our dairy to the dairy buyer, which is just on the other side of the map here, not too far away from us. We do this every other day. They used to come and pick up milk from us, from all the local farmers. They would make their morning rounds throughout the Cotswolds, and keep in mind, remember that we do provide hay and silage and straw and stuff to many other farmers. Some very small dairies are part of this as well, and so the milk producer or milk buyers would come around and buy the milk and everything from all the various dairies. That has just been a cost that they have sort of stopped doing, just due to cost. And of course, they will still come and get milk from the individual dairies should the milk dairies or the dairies want to pay the extra fee to have the milk picked up versus basically, let's see, 2,000 left. That's good. All right, so instead of doing that, but what we have done is we've worked out a deal with the local milk buyer here in the Cotswolds. They provide us with a truck and a tanker to be able to go out and essentially get milk from not only from our dairy, which is what we're basically doing here, but also, let's see, which way does this gate open? This gate's going to open up this direction, so my bad. Let's pull our truck back a little ways here and then get out and open this gate up. So what we do is we help the local milk buyer by hauling milk, and then also one of the jobs that Thomas and Smithy will do on occasion is they also drive the milk truck, and they will go around to a couple of the other local dairies and pick up their milk and haul that to the milk buyer. And so of course we get a small commission for that, and basically the milk buyer provides us with a truck. We do the maintenance on the truck and everything. That's part of the process, and of course there are gold nuggets just everywhere. That's part of the process, but we're going to go sell this milk today here. Again, we do this every other day here in the Cotswolds. That's the deal that we've worked out with the milk buyer, is they want our milk every other day, and so that's when we want to obviously give it to them when they want it. And then we'll come back to the main farm, and then we are going to go over and do the task that we talked about in the previous episode, and that is cut the grass over there for Father Brown. So we do a pretty good, milk is obviously a pretty good earner for us here on Mr. Thornton's farm, and carrying it out here and keeping the milk local and whatnot is very key to the success of this area. Like I said, other farmers are here in this area as well. Of course, they've got relatively small dairies compared to our dairy. Mr. Thornton's farm here is one of the largest milk producers in this little region that we live in, that we work in and everything. And so they are pretty much here to support us and our dairy, that is the milk buyer I'm talking about. But then also, they're getting enough milk from other surrounding farms to continue to basically exist find some profit and everything in the whole production of milk. So trying to remember to stay on the correct side of the road, folks. I don't want to break immersion if I can certainly avoid it, but as I have pointed out in the previous episode, it is something, it's a habit, and it's an old habit to break. So just bear with me uh, if I do fail to remember to stay on the correct side of the road. All right, so here is our milk sell point, and of course I just dropped these in primarily because as far as I knew, there was no way of selling milk here on this map without putting in the buy point, the sell point, and such. So let's go ahead and unload our milk and see how much money we make from selling our first load of milk for this series. We'll get rid of the forecast there. Don't need to continue staring at that. Although I will take one more look at it. So we do have 2 days of rain coming up, Friday and Saturday. We've got rain in the forecast and then 2 days of sunshine. So we most likely, not this episode of course, but through this game day, we most likely will be doing some more mowing, some more probably do this, probably the next batch of grass that we mow, or the next large field that we mow, will probably be pretty much all grass that we will pull out and begin our silage making process, or at least try to fill that silo up on the hill. Since Mr. Thornton was kind enough to allow us to put in the extra investment and everything to make that happen, to kind of convert that from, he was storing some miscellaneous stuff in it, feed for the cows and stuff like that, and so we basically want to take advantage of his generosity in allowing me to convert that over to a silage silo. You know, in this part of England, pretty much all of the silage making functions are all going to be in your typical ground-based type bunker, silage bunker that you put the grass or the chaff into, and then basically drive over it, compact it, cover it, let it ferment for a period of time. The type of silage processes that's our turn right there, and it's a turn that we want to basically make. So let me back up a little bit here and swing out and swing over. Unfortunately, I don't think the mirrors are adjustable in this truck. This is just the default or the generic Marhu milk tanker that comes with the tanker stuff. If anybody knows of a milk truck mod, maybe share that with me, and we'll consider maybe replacing it with this one if there's something that maybe says milk on the side of it. But that really doesn't matter. But anyway. So we're going to head back to the main farm now and go ahead and drop this off. Mr. Thornton is going to be spending most of today with Countryfile. The BBC Countryfile program is coming out to talk to him about his bees. And so we will need to basically make sure that we're not in their way. Looks like Thomas has finished fertilizing down in the field that he's been working in this morning. We start early around here as best as possible. If we have the opportunity of getting started early in the morning, we certainly try to do that. All of the local folks around here, of course, on Sunday we aren't out driving heavy machinery and all that kind of stuff out early in the morning on Sundays, but the rest of the week we get early starts, and that's kind of what everyone expects around here. There are all these local neighbors and stuff that we interact with. They're all pretty much. We're just going to park this here out of the way for now, and then we'll store it. I'll get Smithy to put it away later. All right. So, but yeah, all these people around here are all early risers, and they certainly understand that. You got to make hay while the sun is shining and all that kind of stuff. All right, so we are about 10 minutes into our episode here, and we're going to go ahead and head over and do what we need to do. Now, you may have noticed the error of my ways, a mistake that I made in yesterday's episode, episode number 4, I think it was. We had baled the hay over in the field number 14, just over there on the other side of that barn, and we had baled it, and I'd left the bells there, and I'd mentioned that I was going to pick those bells up off camera. And then, of course, towards the end of the episode, we loaded our little Pruffy hopper on top of our bell trailer to get ready to go over to Father Brown's location and cut that grass for him. And of course, I realized that I needed to get that hay because I certainly didn't want it to set out overnight. So we did get the hay in. So obviously I off camera unloaded the Pruffy hopper and got the hay stacked in here as about as nice as I'm capable of doing that. We had one round bale of hay left over from the previous year, so it's sitting here and it'll be used first. And we basically like to keep stuff, our content or our food and stuff like this, hay, straw, silage, etc., rotated. One thing here, this little goal, something, I don't know how that you pronounce that. The store basically has us using this as a test for them. This is, we were looking for a small tipper or something. The other tipper, basically we wore it out. It just was so old. It was one of Mr. Thornton's original little tippers around here, and we were looking at something that we could basically transport hay from, or hay or grass, but basically hay is what we're going to feed to our sheep. Basically transport something from here over to the sheep farm. We didn't want to leave anything out there as best as possible. Mr. Thornton really didn't want to spend the money to put in a barn or anything like that. And so the store has us trying this out. And I will show you all that later once we get to a point to where that we need to go and tend to the sheep. But right now they're good to go for at least another day. So let's go ahead and go cut the grass over there for Father Brown because, well, you know, he is he's our local priest, our local padre, and he does such great work here in the community. And again, he's a good friend of Mr. Thornton, and Mr. Thornton wanted us to basically do this for him. So we're going to head over to that area that I showed you yesterday in the previous episode, and go ahead and get that grass cut for him. Such a beautiful area, the Cotswolds. I am just, as I sort of step out of my character here for just a moment, this is an area that my wife and I very much want to visit in one of our trips. We go to the UK every other year, or should I say, we go to England every other year. Usually on our way back from Belgium, we will spend a week in Kent, which is another county, region within England in the southeast, and we will spend about 5 or 6 days, sometimes 7 days, there in Kent. And Kent is known as the Garden of England, for those of you that are not familiar with England, so some, like my stateside users. The weather is generally a little more fair there, a little, they've got plenty of sunshine, they've got plenty of moisture, obviously, and that's kind of known as the Garden of England, like I said. And that is where we go out and stay in a little community or a little town called Tunbridge Wells. This is our turn here that goes down to Father Brown's place. And so we go there, and like I said, we spend about 6 or 7 days there in the English countryside and do different things. Sometimes we do some of the same things every year or every time we go there. One of our favorite places to visit is Hever Castle. Hever Castle, for those of you that are sort of on your Tudor history, Edwardian, I'm sorry, not Edwardian, but the Tudor time frame, Henry VIII, etc. You know that Anne Boleyn, which was Henry VIII's second wife, She was the first one to lose her head, lose her noggin there. Let's see, is this our location? Yes, it is. Okay, so we're going to just kind of block the road here, just primarily because we can, and we'll set our parking brake. All right, so we need to let our ramps down. Getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Need to get around here where I can see. So we'll let our ramps down here, and again, we don't expect very much traffic, and I think maybe we've left enough room for a small car to squeeze by. You know, cars around here in England aren't very big. It's not like we have the big land yachts in the U.S. That drive up and down our roads. I suppose I should also undo this strap here. There we go, and then we'll walk back up the ramp, try to do this a little bit in character here. So anyway, Hever Castle, again, is sort of the childhood home of Anne Boleyn, and so we usually go there and visit those gardens and everything when we go and visit. Now, this is kind of a tight squeeze getting down this ramp, but generally we can do it all right there. And let's go ahead and get to work here for Father Brown. I'm sure he's up, or he may be down at the church. I think he was going to try to be down at the church and be out of our way here. There's an egg sell point here, by the way. Father Brown does buy some of our eggs from us, and so we can drop our eggs over here and sell them. He buys them from us. Great guy, that Father Brown, let me tell you. He's not only is he the local Catholic priest here in this area, but he is also a little bit of a sleuth, a little bit of a things. This is a very quiet neighborhood. It's a very quiet region of England. Not a lot of stuff goes on here. But every now and again we have a little bit of crime and whatever, and Father Brown is usually pretty quick to get in there and help the local authorities investigate things. I think that from time to time the local authorities kind of wish that Father Brown would stick to minding his P's and Q's and minding his own business there at the parish with the church and everything. But Father Brown does like to investigate some of the crimes and does quite well with it. But excellent fellow, and I'm certainly pleased to have the opportunity to come down here and cut this grass for Father Brown. Most likely we'll need to do this once or twice this summer, just to it doesn't have to be, it's not like a well manicured lawn or anything like that. It really is just the area that Father Brown enjoys coming to and sitting on the bench there and doing his morning reflections, maybe doing a little prayerful thoughts and such. Obviously working on his sermons and everything like that as well. And so it's just something that we enjoy doing. Mr. Thornton enjoys supporting the local community, regardless of denomination and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of churches in this area. Not all of them obviously are Catholic. Church of England has an old church along the main highway just down from the pub that Mr. Thornton owns, and love this little Profi hopper. It's a great investment if you are needing something on your little virtual farm that maybe you don't have. Maybe the space isn't big enough to warrant bringing out a sort of a heavy tractor, all that good stuff, and raking and collecting the hay or collecting the grass or whatever. This is a great little mower, and I've used it before on some of my other maps. And like I said, Mr. Thornton bought this for the farm a couple of years ago, and primarily he bought it just to kind of clean up the areas around the farm. While England is very much a sort of a wet region, as far as they enjoy their share of rain and such. Anytime you have tall grass and such, in the area around your barns and stuff like that. Not only is it potentially a fire danger when it dries out, but also, you know, it's kind of a haven for critters of various kinds. You know, snakes and rats and other little vermin can hide in there and maybe cause some problems for you. And so we like to try to keep things nice and neat. Mr. Thornton is always, well, of course, that's a contradiction, I will say, because I usually give Mr. Thornton a little bit of a hard time with the amount of what I call junk, and he reminds me that one man's junk is another man's treasure. And I think he thinks that, you know, someday somebody's going to come along and going to say, hey, I want to buy that bus from you, that old bus that's parked down there by the main farm. And of course, I tell him that old bus ain't worth anything. Still keep trying to convince him to maybe sell some of that stuff, some of that junk. Although I jokingly, when I say that to him, sell some of that and see if we can use that for other investments on the farm, other things that might be more functional for us. I still keep telling him, you know, asking him if he would consider putting a water well, drilling a well up at the greenhouse area, because that would sort of save a little bit of time in transporting water back and forth from the main farm. Of course, we've got a well there on the main farm, but we know we have water in this region, and all it would take is just bring somebody up here with a well drilling apparatus and punch a hole in the ground and put a pump in it, and that way we would have water right there at the greenhouses. Of course, it would be nice if we could then sort of pipe in that water or configure that water well so that it could automatically water the greenhouses. Of course, that would be added expense, and certainly the boys and I, whether it be Thomas or Smithy or myself, we don't mind looking after the greenhouses. We don't mind doing anything, actually. We're all about hard work. We're all about doing the right things and doing the things that basically produce a profit for the farm, produce a profit back to Mr. Thornton, and you know, that's why we all come out, and that's why we all put in a good hard day's work. And so so this looks pretty good. I think what'll happen next is we'll send Smithy over here with the weed eater, or as they call it in the UK, a strimmer. Send him over here, and he can clean up a little bit of this grass away from the trees and stuff like that, and probably also go ahead and edge the sidewalk if there needs to be any of that done. And yeah, we've done a good job here. And of course, folks, I realized that the mower filled up a couple of minutes ago. It will continue to go ahead and mow without collecting additional grass or leaving any grass on the ground. And since I don't really have any way of getting the grass moved from this location back over to the main farm, I just went with it and let it go ahead and fill up, and we'll haul this over and put this away in the silage bunker, most likely. That's kind of a funny thing to watch, by the way, and I'll go ahead and do that in this episode. Watch me drive through the mud. It's a wonder that I make it through there without getting completely and utterly muddy, which you'll see in just a moment. So let's go ahead and drive up on the bell trailer here. This trailer worked out okay, I think, for this little job. You know, don't need anything fancy to haul this thing around. We'll go ahead and put a strap on it there and then get back into the tractor and bring the ramps up. Don't need anything fancy. You know, I think initially I thought that might be nice to have a kind of a small trailer that would be just big enough for the Profi hopper to go on. There are some trailers, there are some mods, by the way, just stepping out of character just for a moment. There are some mods out there that are available that are sort of geared for moving the little Bobcat skid steer around. But unfortunately, the Bobcat, the skid steer, is a little bit narrow compared to the Pruffy hopper, and I did try one of those out. Bought it just temporarily, put it on the map, took a look at it, and it just clipped through. You could still load the Pruffy hopper on it if you just closed your eyes and you didn't worry about the mower deck clipping through the side of the trailer. Sometimes, sometimes that's all you can do is just kind of close your eyes and say, okay, well, it's braking immersion, but it's the best that we can do with what we've got, and until something better comes out, this is all that we can really do. But for this episode, or for this series, this Let's Play series, I really wanted to try to avoid things that looked really out of place or really caused problems or whatever. Make sure that our mower's still on there, and it is. And so that's why I went ahead and just used this trailer. It's something we already had on the farm. Obviously, if we could save some money. Of course, Mr. Thornton thought he might know somebody that we could borrow a trailer from, but again, that sort of didn't pan out, and that's why we went with what we've got here. So we will go ahead and just bring this back to the main farm. And I realize that this episode has kind of been about selling milk and mowing grass for Father Brown, but it's just part of the story. It's part of our ongoing adventures here on Thornton Farm. And of course, we won't repeat too much of the same stuff, the same content, the same gameplay and everything too often. Most likely, we will continue to sell milk every now and again, and I don't know, we may go back over and mow for Father Brown again later in the summer, but that'll be fine for now. That'll get him by. Mr. Thornton really just likes to do that about 2 to 3 times a year, and that works out fine. So we'll go ahead and pull this up here. I see that neither of the two boys moved the milk tanker out of the way while we were gone, but that's okay. We will park that there, set our parking brake. We did it again. We forgot to lower our thing here, so we'll lower that. There we go. And then we will undo the strap here, and we'll walk around. I'm a bit too old to try to throw my leg up there on the trailer and jump up there like I might have been able to do 20 years ago or so. And we'll back this off after we release our parking brake. And you guys can see me go mudding. This is quite comical. It's a little slow to drive this up here, but it's well worth it, seeing all the mud splash around. So just imagine, I'm dressed in my work clothes here. I've got my flannel shirt rolled up. Don't know why. It's warm enough today. And off I go to deliver some grass up here to the thing. And the mud just goes everywhere. It gets worse right up here. Boom! Look at that. Look at that. I mean, I would expect to basically look like, what's the little Snoopy character? Is it Linus or Schroeder, or one of the ones that's just dirty all the time? Anyway, we'll just go ahead and dump our grass here. And of course, did all this mowing up here yesterday, again to sort of make room for, or make way for the BBC to come up here and do their recordings, interviews with Mr. Thornton about the greenhouses and about the bees and everything. And so maybe, just maybe, obviously they're going to want some peace and quiet when they initially start doing their interview. And of course, it really is about the bees. That's why the Country File is coming out here to talk to Mr. Thornton. But it's possible that he may want to talk about the silage production system, which is, again, it's new to this region. Primarily, most of the farmers are doing the traditional concrete bunker where they compact it and cover it and everything. Here we go, mudding again. Mud, mud, mud. Awesome. All right, folks, well, we're about 29 minutes or so here on the timer, and by the time we probably get this back to the main little location, the little garage where I keep the Profi hopper, it's going to be closer to 30 minutes. So I just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching my episodes. I hope you're enjoying the Let's Play and the role play as much as I'm enjoying playing it and bringing you this stuff. And I'm trying very hard to stick into the role play, stay within the character and all that kind of stuff as well. And I'm enjoying it, and I hope that you're enjoying watching it. We'll just put it over here because I think we need to get the blade sharpened just a bit. Set the parking brake and shut it off and jump out. And anyway, thank you all again so much for watching. And as I always say, I hope that you will continue to take care of yourselves and take care of each other. You know, we're all we have here on this big blue marble that we live in or live on. And got to take care of each other and look out for each other and all that good kind of stuff. Please make sure you go down and visit all of my YouTube Farm Sim buddies, Farm Sim friends that produce excellent content. Also go over and check out the Three Dudes Gaming Network and PCSG as well for incredibly awesome community content, community help, and everything from those two wonderful locations. Until next time, I thank you for watching, and I will see you. We will still be in this game day when we come back together for episode number 6, and we'll see what we need to do then. Take care, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.